welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, folks. We are live at VodPod Media, and I'm so excited to be back. Dare I say be back? Yes, because we've been gone for a few weeks. We've been off the mics, but we're back like we never left. And so I've got to welcome everybody back here to VodPod Media. I'm so excited. I'm hyped. I'm in rare form. Guylan's had to cool me off a little bit before we got started just today. He says, man, don't scare the guests.
Well, it's already hot outside, bro.
It's hot as hell outside. We're gonna talk about the weather. We're gonna talk about gas prices. We're gonna talk a little bit back to school. We're gonna talk a little bit about everything with my man Mando. What's up, brother, man?
Hey, man.
I'm
Thanks
so
for
excited.
having me on, brother.
Man, I'm excited that you're here, bro, because it's been a minute. And not only that, you know, you're one of the flag bearers for the culture. Because when you think about people that are out here doing it on the mics, podcasting, creating something out of nothing, saying, no, we're going to create our own lane. I've been a fan of your work for a long time, bro.
Hey, bro, it's not me. It's the tacos.
It's the tacos.
They're just good. They're just good.
Well, you're right, because who doesn't love tacos?
Right? Yeah.
But my thing is, okay, if you loving tacos but disrespecting Mexicans, we got an issue.
No. You can't have it both ways, baby.
Well, it seems like this country would like it both ways.
They do.
My goodness.
Too much, bro.
But welcome to the studio.
I'm excited to be here representing San Anto.
That's right, man. So I read you're originally from El Paso.
Yeah.
But you representing what? You're in Austin? I mean, where do you stay?
I'm originally from El Paso, the Segundo Barrio to Isleta, but now I'm based in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
That's where I have my studio. That's how I have my home life. But I travel a lot, travel across the state, whether it's video production to our latest podcast, Tacos of Texas.
Yeah. So you're doing a little bit of it all. And it's funny because I ran into you at the, the Taco Fest Music House here in San Antonio a few months ago. And it's interesting, the culture around tacos, because I think you've affectionately written and wrote that you're a taco journalist.
Yeah.
And someone would look at that and like, what does that mean? Right? What is a taco journalist, right?
Yeah, man.
What is it?
Well, the thing is like, when I got started in writing, I didn't have any formal training. I was just like really looking for places that really covered culture.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about the food, you're talking about culture.
Sure.
You can't separate.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it's really an opportunity to dig in, and so for like, and then create your own lane, like you said, you know what I mean? And back then you had to be like, oh, well, maybe, shine the light here or there. And it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
It was just, the Mexicans they were being ignored and continue to be ignored. So why not create your own? And so there it is, taco journalism.
Taco journalism.
Yeah. And so for us and for me, it's about digging deep into the culture. Yes, you can start with a taco for sure. And we often say that we use tacos as a Trojan horse to understand people, culture, and the community issues that they deal with, whether it's taco gentrification or immigration issues or really just understanding kind of those food traditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for us, it's always been about understanding who's behind the tacos. It's not just like that nice photo and it's picturesque and whatnot, but like, let's give props to abuelas, to our moms, to tias. They've been testing recipes since day one, bro.
Yeah, and so let's dig in deep to that, because again, when you hear of tacos, I mean, it has become commercialized, right? I mean, tacos, when you think about just mainstream. Oh, totally. But you're right. I mean, the history and tradition of, tortillas, right? And rolling the maíz, right? And finding the right recipes for the meat and for the spices. And, that's some deep history and tradition there.
Oh, yeah.
That most people wouldn't know about.
That's right. I mean, even like, growing up in Texas, we grew up with barbacoa. Yeah. And even today, people don't know what barbacoa is.
Exactly.
Unless you're from the culture, you know what I mean? And so it's an opportunity to like think about, like, say, that ranch style cooking that I love. I'm a home cook. I'm a backyard cook. I'm a griller. I'm a pozo digger. Yeah. So for me, it's important to not only capture and tell these stories, but just honor them in the time and the space that we have when we break bread or a tortilla.
Yeah. I heard somebody say that And I don't remember exactly where I heard it. Somebody said that our people had been rolling tortillas on this continent way before anybody even broke any bread.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
I mean, there were tortillas before they had a name. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we when you think about like the phrase sin maíz no hay país, you know what I mean? It's just like without corn, we have no people, no culture, no country, you know? And so whether it's corn or over here in Texas, get a lot of the flour tortillas and the breakfast tacos. I mean, you can put anything on a taco.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. You know, my grandmother, she could never do flour tortillas. Mm-hmm. It had to be corn.
Yeah.
She had to have corn tortillas with every meal. And I remember I always favored flour tortillas growing up. For some reason, I just liked it. I don't know why. But the flour came over with the Spanish, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because of the introduction of the wheat corn.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, the wheat, the wheat. Then they turned that into flour. They started milling that, yeah, that's kind of the way it came. Because back then it was not like what was it the staple was corn.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
In this region.
So the introduction of the wheat allowed for that to like, oh, well, they're doing it this way. Now let's do it this way. And that's where you have that flour tortilla.
You heard it here first, folks. If you like flour tortillas, you're siding on the side of the colonizer.
That's right.
but I kid.
There you go.
Give us a comment. Give us a like, share, subscribe to this post. Go ahead and call your mama, get her recipe for her corn tortillas, and let us know if you know what actually barbacoa is.
Right?
Because he's right. Some people don't know what barbacoa is. They don't know what menudo is. Tripe meat. But it's interesting because our people had to eat whatever we could get.
Yeah.
The scraps.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the story of the fajitas too, you know, because it was the scraps. And so you had to cook them for a long time. And it's a very similar story like the barbacoa. You know, they wouldn't the Mexican ranch hands would get the leftovers. So what did they do? The fajitas. What did they do? The barbacoa, full, you know, and really like thinking about that. Something that I think that we picked up from, you know, Native Americans is that in-ground type of cooking, you know, the pozos and whatnot. And it's very similar to barbecue with the African-American barbecue pit masters that started, you know, with the sausages and the briskets and all that. So it's a very similar story.
It's interesting, man, because it makes you think about like what is good food.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, a lot of our people, we know, you know, there are some aspects of our community, but many people living in poverty. Yeah. You know, you drive around here in San Antonio, you got houses that are on stilts, on cinder blocks. You got people that are struggling to make ends meet. I read an article recently on NPR that said many Black, Indigenous, and Latino people are struggling with the economy and inflation right now, sending kids back to school. You got to make lunches or they get lunch from the school. You know, what is good food, man? Because, you know, like think about menudo. Menudo is considered like a delicacy, right? That you would eat maybe on January 1st. And then around Thanksgiving time, you would do tamales, right? The rolling of the masa, right? Tradition with the families. But when you think about it, it's like, I don't know if it's really that healthy, right? Is it? And again, that's not to say we can't enjoy the food, but it's like, man, if our people had been given these scraps, we turned them into a delicacy.
Yeah, totally.
But many of our people are also dealing with health issues. It's like, okay, what's going on here?
I mean, I think part of that is like when you think about those type of foods, I'm more of like thinking about your environment.
Sure.
In regards to the food that you made at home, we're actually pretty healthy. Beans.
Sure.
You know, tortilla, whatever, you know, was available. And it wasn't anything fancy either. You know what I mean? And so, yes, the original had the manteca and all that. But when you look at the environment in high poverty areas, you're looking at liquor stores, fast food, processed foods. And so and then right now you're seeing a lot of resurgence to like, hey, let's make that food that are, you know, our ancestors really kind of, you know, gave us, corn tortillas, you know, and really think about, you know, calabazas, right? We have the calabazas, but then really use the flour. I mean, the little flour, the petal to make a little quesadilla out of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think now there's a resurgence of that, but you definitely can think about like the easy. I would say the easy thing to say is like, oh, all Mexican food is cheap, all Mexican food is fat and bad for you, but it's not. It's all part of your environment.
Yeah.
You know, it's all part of your environment, and if you're true to some of those food traditions and take your time, then you're gonna have a healthy, really good Mexican food. And so, but when you think about it, if you go to the Taco Bells and the Taco Cabanas and all that, of course it's gonna be bad for you.
Yeah. And none of our listeners go to Taco Cabana or Taco Bell anyway.
I mean, if you do, put in the comments, we'll shame you.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think anybody is gonna comment. No, but you could probably go. I mean, listen. No shame for anybody, right? Because people eat what they like, people eat what they want. That's the good part of personal choice and freedom.
Yeah.
But I just think that there's a personal line you have to walk. It's not like you can eat tamales every day, right?
Yeah.
Which you're right, because if they're making them traditional, it's with the manteca, it's with the lard or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And that can become ultra heavy. And I like the food just as much. One of the things I think that's underspoken to, especially when we were at Taco Fest, is the salsa.
Yeah.
The chile, right? Whatever you're putting on there. I mean, how many types of salsa are there?
Yeah.
It makes the taco.
Oh, it totally makes the taco. The way I see it, with the taco, I always call it like the Holy Trinity. You have the tortilla, the fillings, whatever you're going to put in there, and the salsas. And you can't go without it. You know what I mean? And so there's so many variations on salsas. And, like there's certain the staples, right? You got your restaurant salsa, which is like heavy on the tomatoes. But then you have a good green salsa, multiple, whether it's the creamy serrano or jalapeno to add some tomatillos on there. I mean, and really kind of get exploring like with different, like salsa quemada or matcha. And so there are just so many types of salsas, and you can infuse it with so many things. Yeah. And then obviously it adds that texture, the flavor, and not all salsa has to have a bite, but if you like it that way, that's great. Which I do too. I'm a chilero, it's like it's either I have salsa in mine or I have like a raw jalapeno and let's go. We're done. Al amor. Mordida is what it's called.
Dude, them peppers, if you messing around with them peppers, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Because man, those things are burning your mouth off.
Yeah. No, I mean, it all depends on, kind of where you are on that scale, right?
And some of that stuff is like, those little bottles that have those X's on them. Those multiple X's.
Yeah.
Those are hot.
Yeah, those are hot. I don't mess with that. That's just more like this the idea of like, oh, can I take this on?
Yeah.
But me, I like to enjoy, a good taco, a good meal, and just kind of, not over the top, but just a good balance, right?
Yeah.
A good balance. Just like a manteca, a good balance.
That's right. And we talking freely, right? We talking off the cuff here because, it's just interesting, man. Like you roll around, and I'm all about, like, I love breakfast tacos, man. What's your go-to breakfast taco?
Oh, so for me, I like flour tortilla, bean, egg, and bacon.
Okay.
Because for me, it's like the creaminess of the beans, the fluffiness of the eggs, and then that salt that kicks in. You know what? With a little bit of salsa, you're solid.
My son is a bacon and egg, and I'm an egg and potato and egg on flour.
Yeah.
Just go-tos, right? Staples. Get them quick.
Staple.
I might get us some tomorrow morning because I'm getting hungry right now talking about all this food. But man, it's interesting. And listen, if you watching along right now, give us a comment, give us a like, give us a share. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Mando for coming out here. We're going to talk a little bit more about his background, but we appreciate all of our viewers. Everyone that's sticking with us here at VodPod Media. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You're going to get quality programming here, not only on Tuesday nights, but Wednesday nights. We got a lineup of the who's who talking about all things culture, people, news, hot takes, politics, you name it. It's happening right here in San Antonio, folks, because I think San Antonio gets overlooked with talent. When you think about talent, right, you don't think about San Antonio, right? For me, personally, I think when people think about San Antonio nationally, they think of mariachis, they think of the Riverwalk, think of the Spurs. They might think about tacos, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Even Austin has stepped up its profile with big tech, people moving to the city, right? Growth. I mean, we're experiencing growth like crazy in Texas right now.
Oh yeah, it's
Right?
crazy growing. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I think, I appreciate and love San Antonio because I do feel like it is often overlooked. Where you got this amazing city that's multicultural, bicultural, where you kind of have so many generations of Mexicanos and Tejanos and Latinos that really kind of make the city what it is. And definitely, obviously, living in Austin, you get a taste of that, but not the whole. Like here, you can come home. Like I feel like, oh, I'm home because I grew up on the border.
Yeah.
And so when I come here, it's like, oh, okay, it's like I'm with my raza. But in Austin, like you got to find it. You definitely have to find it. And the people that are there, it's like we're there and we're sticking to our to the culture and make sure it's represented right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Mexicanos out there doing their own thing. I mean, we just had, different neighborhoods. And that's what I like to do is spotlight all the different neighborhoods that have the Mexicanos doing their own craft, their own tacos, their own scene, whether it's piñatas to some good, tacos al pastor, to just really kind of going into just kind of those different neighborhoods. So people can kind of like just really open their eyes that Austin is not just like, but
South by Southwest.
South by Southwest and all that. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, totally.
But it's interesting though, because I follow a lot of different cultures, right? In terms of just the continental United States. And anytime there's like a convention that comes to Dallas or Austin or San Antonio, whether it be, any big business, they bring their convention, because there's only so many cities that can host 10,000 people or more, right?
Totally.
They come to San Antonio and they wear like their theme are cowboy boots and cowboy hats. And I'm like, man, dude, I don't even know nobody that wears cowboy hats around here. You know what I'm saying, dude? It's like these people just dress and talk just like you and I do, right? But there's certain ideas that people have of these places like Tennessee. You think of country music.
Sure.
And I know there's much more to Tennessee than country music.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a part of what we do on this show too. We highlight all sorts of different things. We talk about the gamut of issues, right? We bring on, all sorts of people, with their backgrounds, and your background, as I understand, is with community organizing.
Yeah.
And so you got somehow from community organizing to be a curator of all things tacos. But explain to me how that happened, man. How you got started here and how you kind of transformed and morphed that career into what you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. So I was, my background is in community organizing, and part of being an organizer and just doing all kinds of like outreach and pláticas and meeting, people kind of where they are and talking to the gente. You have to understand like what moves them, what inspires them, and then see like, okay, like how can I help you, or how can you help yourself as well, right? And so for a lot of that, like we gotta eat. We're just like, well, we could go to Whataburger and all that, but we got to go to where the people are at. And usually that's somewhere near a taqueria. Right. And so I grew up, cooking. I'm a home cook. I'm a backyard, griller. And, I call myself a grassroots cocinero.
That's what's up.
Because I'm all about the grassroots, and you see that like through my podcast and all that, talking to the people. They don't like, you don't have to be a chef, let's talk to the abuela and let's talk to, people that have that inspiration and that idea. And so I did a lot of that community organizing in Austin, got my chops there. But every time I'd go and meet up with somebody, well, let's go to Marcelino's over here in the east side, or let's go to Dove Springs, or let's go to the Rumberg area and what have you. And we just meet up there, even if it's like a formal business meeting. It's like, let's go, put the tie, swing that tie over, and let's eat some tacos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it kind of started from there, and then. And then a friend of mine was asking me, oh, well, where can I get some good tacos in Austin? And I sent him a list, but in my own flavor, I kind of write the way I talk, And so just like with a little bit of like that Mexican style. And then he published it. And then a friend of mine saw that I was like published in this. And back in the day, it was called the Austinist. You know, I don't know if you remember those, you know, back when blogging was a thing.
Yeah.
And so then a friend of mine was like, "Oh, we're starting this thing called TacoJournalist." I'm like, "You should do it with us." And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome. Okay." And then like just started going to all these mom and pop shops that didn't have the big budgets. They didn't have the big PR, but we knew that, you know, they made amazing tacos and just shined the light. You know, so and then back then, like everybody was raving about Torchy's tacos. And I'm like, come on now,
man.
Come
Who's
on,
doing
people,
that?
let's go. All you got to do is, you know, head east and, you know, let's go grab some tacos. And that's kind of the way I kind of started writing and just interviewing the people behind the food. Yeah. And then understanding kind of their story and how they got there. And really kind of like I said, it's just it's like sharing the mic, if you will, just like you're doing, you know, sharing the mic. And that's what we need to be doing so they can be their own storytellers, you know, not tell their story for them. But for me, and often that's why I'm super passionate about this, because I want people to like their ability to tell their own story is powerful. And, you know, oftentimes, I would say in media, now it's getting better. People are waking up. But oftentimes, there's people from outside the culture that tell their story. And I'm like, nah, you gotta let them tell their own story. And so that's kind of my approach. It's always been like that. So we started like with a blog. Back in the day, way before Yelp. Been around a hot minute.
Yeah, that's all right.
And then from there, you know, just a couple books came out, and Tacos of Texas was the big one. And so we traveled to 10 cities across Texas, interviewed over 100 people. Wow. And then people didn't believe me. What, you're running a taco book? Nah. You know, they didn't believe it, but we did it, you know? And then we represented, you know, people, places that, you know, that have been around for a long time to new places, and just getting to sit down and interview and allowing these people to share their stories, like super powerful. And then, you know, from there, it's like one thing led to another. I applied for a grant for PBS to do a digital series, and we did that based on the book. So we did about 6 or 7. It's on YouTube now, called Tacos of Texas. Yeah. And then from there, El Rey reached out to us, and they said, "Hey, we'd love to do something with y'all, El Rey Network." And so we said, "All right, let's do this. So let's go national." So we went to places that you would think to go, like LA for sure, and Chicago. But no, man, let's go to Queens. Yeah. Let's go to Kentucky. You know, there's a little town. There's Lexington, Kentucky, but it's a nickname called the nickname is Mexington. It's a little barrio where all the Mexicans live. You know what I mean? So then we uncovered some of those stories of like, well, how did all these immigrants end up getting there? And so we kind of tell those stories, and then like now have the Tacos of Texas podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple or wherever you get your podcast.
That's what we all got to remember. Wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah. And yeah, man. And so for me, it's just been like one thing after another. And then one of the realizations, I have a business partner, Dennis Burnett, and we've always worked together. I'm the producer and he's the director, but I'm also like in front of the screen and the host and whatnot. But we said like, you know, I've been fortunate that I've been able to do this. Yeah. Like, why not shine the light on more people, especially people of color, you know, especially today. And so we started our own production company called Identity. And so we you know, we create videos, storytelling, YouTube shows, to allow them to tell their own stories. You know, so we created ah-teh, which is a show with Isabel Protomartir out of Houston, and it's hacks and cheats to Asian cooking. And man, all those dishes are delicious.
I believe that.
Yeah. And then we also partnered with Vianney Rodriguez. She's a recipe developer out of Corpus Christi, and her show is called Tex-Mex Queen. So it's all the staples of Tex-Mex food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's all these recipes that she grew up with, and she shares some of her stories. And so so for us, it's super important to really focus in on BIPOC experiences and then allowing them to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And we can help in by opening up our studios or bringing in our production crew to support them. That's kind of what we're about.
Yeah, man, that's what's up. And that's where I learned of y'all at. I think it was the one with the El Rey.
Yeah.
The one that showed up on El Rey Network, and that one went, mainstream, right?
Yeah, totally.
Got the most probably eyeballs on it and views. And I'm glad y'all are doing it because there needs to be more of us out there doing this. Mm-hmm. It's like people I've heard this before, and I don't think anyone told me this, but I heard this is like, oh, I've been thinking about doing a podcast, but everyone else has their podcast, so I don't think mine's going to be good. Yeah. I don't want to do one then. Thing is, when you go to the cereal aisle at the grocery store, you see all those different types of cereal.
The variety, man.
Exactly. Because everybody wants their own personal flavor.
Yeah.
And that's what we can all bring to the table. The other thing about it is when you travel the country, you travel Texas. First of all, Texas is huge.
Oh, yeah.
You've been lucky enough to travel around and recognize we're not all the same.
Yeah. Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. We all have our own flavor. I mean, if you eat almost like all the tacos in Texas, that's half the country right there, bro. Yeah. And then not everybody's the same. We all have our different experiences. We all come from different walks of life. And so it's this idea around going deep and understanding who the people are, what they represent and how they want to be represented, and that no two people are the same. And we're not as they say, we're not this monolith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, because I want to hear a little bit about El Paso as well, because we have a lot of people from El Paso that are currently in San Antonio that have come out here and made their life out here now.
Totally.
But there was another show I was watching, journalist Pau Ramos. You might have heard about her before. Just a great journalist, great storyteller on the Latinx experience. Mm-hmm. She did a segment and a whole series on conservative Latinos from the Valley. And I'm like, whoa, there's a whole word and a whole story there, right? Because you're so close. And for those that don't know, the Valley of the Texas is the most southern tip of Texas. It's practically Mexico. Yeah, it's practically right Mexico. It's right there. I mean, you could throw a stone across, even in El Paso as well. You could throw a stone from El Paso and hit Mexico.
I mean, this was all Mexico.
It was all Mexico before even if we go back, right? Yeah. And before that, again, we alluded to our indigenous, our American Indian, or our Indio side, right? Our indigenous side. Prior to that, hundreds and thousands of years ago, our people were here. As they always say, we didn't cross the border crossed us.
That's right.
And there's a whole history behind this, man. But as you mentioned, we are not a monolithic group. Mm-hmm. Many of our people are very different. We all don't speak Spanish. We all look however we look, which you would typically think, yes, me personally, I give people the freedom to be themselves. Mm-hmm. You can be who you are. You can like who you like. Yeah. But man, this whole Trump thing that happened, this deep conservative self-hatred for people. Yeah. And I might get in trouble for saying this, but we've got people that are hating on people their own. Yeah. It's a classism.
Oh, it
thing,
is. It
right?
is. I mean, it's a colorism, it's racism, it's everything all put together. People just forget, where they come from.
Yeah.
And we didn't come up to where we are now without the support or help of people that came before us. Yeah. And it's acknowledging that. Yeah. And sometimes we forget, once you make 50,000 or more, then
you don't cross over into another tax bracket.
You know that meme. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, it's really, part of that is steeped into maybe some of the machismo in the culture, and then also the religious aspect of it as well, the conservatism, but it's also trying to think of family members or somebody close to you, would you treat them the same way? Yeah. And so it's just sometimes maybe, you know, we lose our way.
It's tough.
You know, and it is tough. And so I think the more that we can talk to each other and try to understand, but right now we don't feel like there's a lot of opportunity for that. They're like, you know, there's, you know, yelling across the aisle, and there's not really a true sitting down, let's talk, and then just be okay with being different or having a different opinion, but without ostracizing each other.
Yeah, and it can get ugly.
Yeah.
You know, you got family members who are bitter rivals, right? People that don't speak. You always hear about, you know, the Thanksgiving, who's coming to Thanksgiving and who you disagree with and who you got in a fight with from the family members and who you ain't talking to. Yeah. It was interesting. We had a game show over here a couple of weeks ago, and we mentioned what percentage of people have ghosted a family member or friends in their life. And I'm like, man, it's got to be like 100%. I mean, right. But you know, one of the things about it is, I think about like our tias, our abuelas, just these humble, you know, 4'11" tias, right. that are quiet and respectful, you know, birthing all these babies, right, that they've had. Our grandma, my dad's mom had 10. Yeah. You know, I know others in that same generation, 13, 14 kids. You know, and they weren't loud and braggadocious. I'm one of the loudest people around. But part of the reason I do it is because of the history of the discrimination that these people had to go through all of these years. You know, you've heard several stories. And one of the theories I have on it too are the lynchings that happen across Texas by Border Patrol or by the Texas Rangers that were hunting down our people. Yeah. You know, and that really kind of scared our people into a culture of, hey, keep quiet. If you keep quiet and you keep your nose straight, they'll leave you alone. And we've been taught to just kind of go along and blend in and go with the flow. And that's part of the reason I believe we don't get a lot of the change that we need in our community with all things regarding immigration, with regards to racism, with regards to women's health and reproductive rights, because it's all happening right now.
Oh, yeah, completely.
It's all happening around us.
No, I mean, I think part of that is really like this identity, I would say. Maybe within, you know, and I'll speak for myself. Yeah. You know, this identity crisis that you have where, you know, culture has been shunned in this country.
It has been.
And so you're basically told to assimilate. And then all of a sudden, slowly you lose your roots. Slowly you lose your language. Slowly you lose your identity. And all of a sudden, you may not think you have Mexican heritage.
You're right. No, you're right. And again, Gailon, him and I go back and forth. We talk about the idea of white supremacy. Yeah. And, you know, Gailon will tell you white supremacy doesn't exist. Now, I don't believe that anyone is better than anyone or more supreme because of their skin color. But the idea is in this country, if you're white, you're right. Yeah. And if you're white, you can get ahead. Oh, yeah. And if you have lighter skin, you're more favored. Yeah, right? Yeah. That idea, right? So our people have fallen in line and thinking, hey, if I can get ahead, if I can speak English better in this country, then I'll be more successful. That's how they used to think, right? If I change my name from Maximo to Max, then I can fit in, I can blend in, I can be more accepted, people will like me. Right? That was an old school way of thinking, 60s, the 50s, 60s, right? That sort of thing. And that's how people lost their language. That's how people lost their way.
Completely. You know? But you do see now that people are really kind of taking back their culture.
They are now.
So, and especially like even the younger generation, you know, and that's where you actually see that, there's conflict between, you know, the next generation and the younger generation, right? They're like, you know, my tío, he's, you know. But so you do see people kind of taking that back and acknowledging that, you know what, let's go back to kind of where we came from. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you because, you know, this culture of white supremacy, you do have, there's certain things that as soon as you leave your home, you go to a school, which is a white institution, you go to, you know, a library, you go to anywhere outside where, you know, you're not with your family, you're told to behave this way, and this way. And then what you've been doing is wrong, you know? Yeah. And so we're trained. It's already embedded with us. And then now it's like about dismantling that within our own selves.
Yeah, man. It's tough, man. You know, and that's part of the reason a lot of our people have identity crisis. You talked about identity. I mean, that's important. How do you personally identify, by the way?
I identify as Mexicano, Mexican American, Chicano.
Yeah.
So for me, it's funny because when I think about my identity, it's not just one thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Tejano, and so I'm a father. I'm a TacoJournalist, and so for me, it's many things. So it's not just like one thing, and it's okay to have that. It's okay to have that those different identities, and so you can fully realize yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to come to a realization. I was talking with a brother earlier at this barbershop. And that's another culture I love, the barbershop.
Yeah.
Because there's culture around all of these things.
Yeah.
Right.
Completely.
Whether it's food, whether it's entertainment, whether it's barbershop. A lot of our people love haircuts.
Yeah.
And a lot of our people have become, good stylists and barbers and all of that. But this brother, we were talking, and he was like, I was telling him about all this stuff. He's like, how'd you get involved with this stuff? I was like, man, you got to come to a realization of what you want to do and how you want to spend your time on this earth. Life is short, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't nothing promised, man. COVID, gun violence, accidents. I mean, someone could hit us on a car on the way home from here,
Right.
Nothing's promised, man. So you got to think about living with intentionality and people coming to terms with themselves. I know a lot of brothers, guys, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, guys that look like us that are battling with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Because of all sorts of things.
Oh yeah. Part of that is like it is rooted in the culture.
It is,
to be honest, and it's hard to shed that.
Yeah.
And I mentioned machismo and being a machista, and you can't, you have to be tough and you have to like show that. And then part of that is there's a social capital among men that allows you to perpetuate that, because like, hey, I'm tough, I'm hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and so we're like trained from like little ones, to be a man.
Yeah.
And so there's some deep-seated layers that we have to go through to fully understand, like, how do we kind of just release some of that and ensure that you don't pass, like, what I would say is like for me, I have a daughter and a son, so, and I have to treat them in different ways. And so I don't want to pass on what was passed on to me, but I want to pass on the good parts of being myself, a man, and identifying as a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And so you got to really kind of, analyze that. And like you said, we have this one life that we have, and then, we have to figure it out. And sometimes it takes half a lifetime to do that. That's okay.
It does.
And
yeah.
you just have to be open to the conversation.
I meet a lot of guys, and, you start talking to them for a little while. They start breaking down their barriers. I met a guy a while ago, 5-10 minutes into the conversation, he's like, yeah, I'm going through a divorce. I said, bro, don't worry about it, man. You don't got to tell me. You don't owe me an explanation. I don't even know you.
Yeah.
You don't got to explain it's all good, man. Whatever you got, whatever you're dealing with is good, man. Because we got to be more supportive of each other.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be judgmental. We shouldn't be talking down on people. It shouldn't be,
we need to
this
be
person.
lifting each other
Exactly.
up.
There's so much negativity out there already anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, people are hating on people for all these different reasons. We don't need none of that, man. And the other thing I think is that if you're a leader or a quote unquote leader, whatever that means, you have an obligation to lift people up rather than tear them down. Yeah. If not, you ain't living up to that title.
That's right. And sometimes we give ourselves that title for the wrong reasons.
Exactly,
you know what I mean? And then I always say that, if you do the work, then the fruits of your labor will actually, you're going to see them. You know what I mean? But just, calling yourself that doesn't make you that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
And so shout out to everybody out there grinding, working towards whatever it is you're doing out there. When you feel all is lost, when you feel like you ain't going to make it. Hey, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard about all-time legends, greats, people that have accomplished all sorts of things that at some point in their career before they blew up, they were going to give up.
Yeah.
They were going to quit. They were going to say, man, I'm wasting my time with this podcast, becoming a millionaire, becoming a business owner, becoming all these things. And they quit not knowing, or they were going to quit not knowing that success was right there.
Yeah.
And so it can happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of that is like, this believe in yourself.
Got to believe
that and chip away at what you're working on if you're passionate about it. You know what I mean? Not just because you're clocking in and out. It's like you have to believe in it, and then pretty much that's kind of what I've been doing. Is like, people are like, "Oh, aren't you gonna get tired of tacos?" I'm like, "Have you seen my belly?"
well, you've got enough. We got a comment. What about burrito culture? We got a comment.
Yeah, I just came from Burrito Town. El Paso is a big burrito town.
So what's up with that? How did that happen?
I'm a fan. So okay, they're just kind of different stories, but in El Paso, West Texas, we have Juarez there, and some of the stories are that that's where the burrito was kind of created and what have you. But there's a lot of flour tortilla there, and so everybody eats breakfast burritos, and it's just because it's easy on the go. It's just very similar to breakfast tacos. Like the difference is it's a roll versus a fold. But you get, and so I grew up with burritos. In fact, I was just in El Paso because one of my podcasts is around the women entrepreneurs, the vendedoras. They can go get burritos right there close to the border, or the tamalera, or the taco vendor, what have you. I mean, it just like definitely it's like this West Texas. It definitely is a West Texas thing, the burrito culture. I mean, they have tacos for sure. They got all kinds of Mexican food, to be honest, right? So that's where I grew up with. But it's kind of like, it's a thing there. And then, you go into like outside and then just head into New Mexico. And then Arizona, and you got all kinds of burritos.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. And they're good, man. Good tortillas down there. And every tortilla is different, regions of tortillas. Like here in San Antonio, I think they're smaller, but they're flaky and maybe a little bit thick. In El Paso, they're just more, they're definitely larger and more sturdier, I would say. And then in the valley, I feel like some of them are very just translucent, you know what I mean? And big too. So it all depends, on like kind of where you go.
It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
You got to give a shout out to all the people that are, farming the food as well.
Yeah.
You talked about calabaza. I mean, we think about, all the migrant workers, all the people that are tending the fields.
Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? Talk about like the original farm, understanding where your food comes from, this farm to table thing. That's where it starts, man.
Yeah.
It's where the people understanding and honoring where that food comes from, but who actually was able to bring that food to your grocery store, to your H-E-B.
Yeah.
It's the ones that are picking, all the food. So that's funny that you bring this up, because one of our in our season 2 that's coming up. We're launching next week, but one of our episodes is called Thank You, Jesus. And then we're thinking about there's a meme, right?
Yeah,
it says Thank You, Jesus, where you see like this nice white family getting ready for Thanksgiving, right? And then you see a migrant farm worker, and then his Jesus, and he says de nada. Yeah, man. So we really like. That meme is just so powerful. I mean, we made it into like its own episode.
Yeah, it needs it.
Yeah, so we actually interviewed not only some community activists in the valley, but a migrant farm worker, and it really kind of got deep into like, well, how do you do it and why do you do it?
Yeah.
And it's, we really do have to like really think about as we, get a plate right here in front of us. Thank the people that are actually picking that food, because a lot of people are not going to do that work.
Man, I mean, you talk about it. I mean, look, it's over 100 degrees outside right now in most parts of the country.
Yeah,
And you talk about someone going out there working 10 hours, 12-hour days to pick the crops because guess what? Everybody wants their tomatoes, their pickles, their watermelons, all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the grocery stores, there's a demand for it. And so, man, I mean, to be doing back-breaking work for little pay.
Yeah.
In this weather,
that's right.
I mean, you got to thank Jesus. You got to thank everybody.
Yeah.
Because they're not the ones out here that are feeding this country and
That's
most of the globe.
Yeah, that's right. And then, like, when you think about their working conditions, I mean, sometimes they don't get the enough breaks, water, or sometimes some of their patrones are like telling them, well, if you don't, work all these extra hours, we're going to report you to ICE. So there's a lot of threats within that. That's something that I learned, as we interview, those folks, because we want to get those stories and share with people as they like enjoy their breakfast taco or what have you. And we just have to like really think about that, and then just honor their work.
Yeah. It's deep, man, because my parents were, my dad's side of the family were migrant workers. And that's how I was born in Michigan. Oh, okay. You talked about the different parts of the country and how our people got all over, whether it was Kentucky, you said?
We went to Kentucky. Yeah, that was one of them. And, to be honest, like my family were also migrant farm workers. They went up to Oregon.
Damn, Oregon.
Yeah. So when you think about like some of that history, like the Bracero program, where they said, oh, we want Mexicans to come and work our fields. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we want to kick them out, or there's just a lot of loaded issues with that.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, a whole history, and it's interesting because, like they say, I mean, many of us will acknowledge that racism really never went away. It just kind of morphed into what it is today. There are still aspects of things that are racist, that have colorism and all of these other things, misogyny.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. I mean, many of our people are just looking to get by. And I think that's part of the issue, part of the reason why people just are going about their business.
Yeah.
And one of the things that our people are not doing in masses to change conditions, which isn't the only way, but it is one way, is getting out there and voting.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got an election coming up here in Texas.
That's right. Yeah, we do.
It's a big election.
It's a big one. And, and I think there's just people are, I think, like, I feel like there's so many things happening in Texas that, I think even people are now like waking up.
I think they are.
And it's a slow, I think it's a slow, they're still like yawning.
Yeah.
But
it's true. You hear all sorts of people saying, oh, you've woken up the sleeping giant, right? You've got our attention. I just want us to get serious about that.
Yeah.
Like let's say with all your history and knowing what you know about tacos, let's say you learned something, a racist practice by some business, and you told us, look, everyone needs to boycott this.
Yeah.
Whether, let's say it's just Taco Bell, just throwing that out there. Would our people boycott Taco Bell?
Would they?
Yeah.
Would our people?
Yeah, like what percentage of our people would? Because I mean, if you truly were to get us united, and I hear a lot of these like Hispanic chambers of commerce saying the new Latino buying power. Yeah. The thing is that I don't know that we could boycott or support.
But the power is not with the Latino. And so when you look at like the power structures of like who's running, whether it's Republicans or Democrats or big organizations and big companies, I mean, there's very few Latinos in that power structure.
True.
Right?
True. But in terms of buying power, though,
yeah.
I mean, if you think about the Latino dollar,
completely.
Right? I mean, trillions of dollars that Latinos spend every year on, they were talking about like the moviegoer, like the biggest population of moviegoers are Latinos. Now, what if we said, look, we got to get our people to boycott the movies because the representation in our community is trash. Right. Would our people stop? Do you think about that? Would the masses of our people stop? That is the question I have for everybody watching right now, because, there's a lot of our people that just want to go to the movies. Yeah. They just want to take their family out, right? They want to take their family out to a restaurant. They worked hard all week. Yeah. Friday comes around, they want to take them and go put on a thing of fajitas on the grill, right? It's always just interesting to me to think about that, a unified vote or a unified dollar. Right, because those are the two things that have power in this country: completely. The vote and the dollar.
Yeah, completely. I think I have hope, and I think now that people kind of can see some of the policies that aren't working, then I feel like there is a chance, especially with a younger demographic.
Yeah.
You know, I think every generation or every, you know, yeah, I guess every generation, you kind of see people that are like, oh, okay, you know, they get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so how do we mobilize that? You know what I mean? But also part of that is like, you know, not just talking to people like a month before the vote is due, but you got to show that you actually have Latinos within those structures that would allow for that trust to be built throughout the year or throughout the years, so that way you actually can get kind of that swell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, thinking about, like, you know, some hope that we've seen out there. I remember that guy that says, "Oh no, you're gonna have taco trucks on every corner."
yeah, that was a tongue-in-cheek moment.
Yeah, and so it motivated people. You know, I think that there was like, I think in Houston there was 8 taco trucks that said, "Come,
to the convention or something, right? Something like that.
Come, you know, get yourself a taco, register to vote."
Yeah,
and so I think it motivated people because, you know, there was a lot of obviously just negative, and just the rhetoric was just insane, but it motivates people too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to get with it, man. We got to get our people mobilized and just thinking about bettering each other, right? Lifting each other up, you know, and it's man, it's just crazy, man, because you got a population of people in this country that want to control other people. Yeah. And I'm just like, how? Yeah. You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I guess it is what it is, but man, if we get our people with it, we can change it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's, you know, the thing is yeah, you have a situation, but, you know, that situation is not permanent.
Yeah.
You know, so as long as you can think about it in that way, I'm not talking to you specifically, Maximo, but everything that we do is constantly moving.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you want to get from point A to point B, you know, most of the time it's not a straight shot. You have to maneuver.
That's a good point.
And figure it out, and you know, and dodge. And or you know, the big example that I have is like where you're trying to get to, you know, your end goal, for example, and you're going through the forest and you can't see anything, and then sometimes there's a trail and you follow it, and it's like, okay, I can see that people have done that, and I'm following in their footsteps. Or you can create your own. You know what I mean? But you have to, like, if you go straight, you're gonna hit a tree. And so, you know, it's about maneuvering, and it's about using the resources around you to help you achieve your best self.
It's true, man. It's true. And that's the thing. The path to success isn't always a straight linear line.
No.
And so you got to know how to move. You got to know how to play the game. You got to get smart to the rules of engagement, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we're all different. Some of us are linear. Some of us are star pattern. Some of us are circles.
That's true.
You got to figure that out. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a whole curve to get there.
Yeah. So we're getting towards the end of the show, man. But tell us about the next season of your show and where people can find it, because you're in production now, correct?
Yeah. We're in production, and but we're actually already our season 2 of Tacos of Texas podcast launches next Tuesday, obviously on Taco Tuesday. So you can get it on if you look up Tacos of Texas on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on KUT Austin's website. So our first one that we're gonna launch with is called Taco Beats. And so if you look at our, you know, you could look at our last season. It's all on Spotify, and you can see that sometimes we lean in with the taco, and sometimes it's more about like a community issue or something that's related to it. So for us, we're like, hey, you know, the best vibe you can get at a taqueria is when they got, you know, some Ramon Ayala or Chente or Bad Bunny. Oh, you know what I mean? And so with Taco Beats, we interviewed DJ Gracie Chavez out of Houston, Principe Q out of Corpus, and my boy Adrian Graniel, and it's really kind of we analyze cumbia. But chopped and screwed, that Houston style.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a fun one to like kick it off. But this season, we have whether you're new to tacos or you're all about the culture, you're gonna get something that's your flavor. So we have an episode on Thank You Jesus or Jesus. Yes. We have one on taco identity, and another one on do not. Do not walk to Teddy's barbecue in McAllen, in Westlaco. And so we went out there, and he actually smoked 2 whole heads of barbacoa. Wow. And it's a new way, Usually barbacoa is in the ground or it's steamed. This one is smoked. And it's the best barbacoa I've ever had.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah. And so we have all the flavors, right? In a nice little podcast. And
this is interesting.
Make sure you listen to it at your favorite taqueria.
There you go. You can only listen to it at the taqueria. So
that's right. That's right.
Hey, well, listen, brother, I appreciate you coming through tonight, man. It's always a pleasure to get
thanks
down.
So much for having me. This was so much fun.
Hey, we're going to have you back, or when we come out to Austin, we're going to have to sit down at one of these taquerias, man. Yeah. Or maybe we'll shoot one of these remote shows at one of the taquerias. How many taquerias are probably in San Antonio? There's probably 1 million.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. It's like probably the most per capita.
Exactly down here, man. Come on. But you love it. One thing I love about it real quick is just, like I said, man, them ladies that wake up, you waking up 5 a.m. in the morning, you start slanging them bean and cheese. I mean, you got a whole chorizo, whatever, ready to go, man. So when you coming through that line, they can just get them tacos out like that, man.
Exactly.
That hard work, man, is something our people ain't never shied away from.
Oh, no.
You know that.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think, whether you're here in San Antonio, the Valley, El Paso, Dallas, Houston, no matter, there's going to be raza there making tacos for you.
That's right. Well, there it is, folks. There you have it. There's the word at the Maximo Show right here live Tuesday next. Make sure you come back and check us out every Tuesday night. We are live as always. Big shout out to Gylan Jackson. Shout out to Amzai, who says, tacos por vida. We're going to send some tacos to your house, brother. And I hope everyone's doing fabulous tonight. Whatever message you got, kick it back to us. Give this a share. Make sure you tag us. Get with us back. We'll be back here next week. That's it. All for tonight. Back to school. Hope the kids are good. Good luck to everybody here on this Tuesday, on this week. And I hope you're doing fabulous. We'll see you next time. And then